Hi. Well, work's been rough, so I haven't been able to spend much time on the hobby. I believe I did find most things that were publicly announced, though not too many things interested me, so the My Thoughts section will be quite short. Not too much keyboard news out there, but I did see a post pop up regarding the Chimera from Canon Keys, and apparently some issues regarding the case swelling / bowing due to a design flaw. I wasn't aware of how prevalent this issue was until I saw the thread and how many owners face the same issue. I haven't seen a response from Canon Keys yet, and it looks like their past customer support wasn't really adequate in my opinion, but I do hope that they address this soon. Anyways, without further ado, Milky Way keys originally burst on the scene with some cool keycap designs and great quality, but ever since that issue with John from Cut Out the Keys, and then Mexico, and then several other vendors going out of business, they've been a lot more low-key and honestly have not been as relevant in the hobby. It's a very unfortunate situation since it feels like a lot of it was outside their control, and they were then forced to pick up the pieces with a resolution that allowed them to survive, but their reputation was still permanently damaged, and if you look at their Discord, a lot of folks were just simply out of luck and left holding the bag. Nowadays, Milky Way Keys seems to mostly have transitioned out of doing group buys and also appears to be minimizing the amount of vendor collaboration to hopefully prevent these issues from happening again. This time around, Milky Way Keys is bringing back a classic design with MW Lilith and making a couple of changes to design and kitting. For example, the base kit from R2 to R3 have gone through several changes, with the novelties being fully included in the base kit for round 3, but in exchange, you don't get a numpad included in the base kit, and several spacebar sizes are now split into a separate spacebars kit. The novelty designs are still quite similar to R2, but there were some keys that were removed and some designs that were tweaked. I think that they still look quite good, and since they are now included in the base kit, you don't have to worry about picking up a separate kit. It does appear to me that most of these changes are to ensure that the kitting makes a bit more sense to most people who don't need some of these extra keys, so they included a TKL compatible kit with the novelties to cover most users. If you use a more specialized layout though, you'll probably have to buy these extra kits and spend more money. In terms of risk, I'm really not sure about it anymore since I haven't bought anything with them for a while. If you look at the Discord, it probably won't look great since most of the customers ended up on that Discord searching for information and to vent. Some of the blame is unfounded as the original fault definitely lies with the vendor going out of business, but it is true that the communication from Milky Way Keys wasn't the greatest when this was all happening. Then again, I'm sure they were in a high pressure situation and they were probably facing potential bankruptcy or insolvency due to unpaid invoices, so I don't really want to get into a blame game here. Buying directly should mean that you don't have the risk of a vendor pulling an exit scam, though I'm also not sure what the experience is like buying directly from Milky Way Keys, as my set of PBT Ichigo was purchased from a vendor. I also can't speak on their quality now, as it's been some time since I bought my Milky Way's keycaps, though my personal experience have been quite positive. Overall, I am glad to see that Milky Way Keys return with a classic set as well as 2 other sets for this week's episode. There are uncertainties and questions that I have in terms of quality and fulfillment due to how little information is out there and how long it's been since I last bought something from them. I definitely get if these are concerns to you and makes you hesitant to join, but if you're willing to take the risk, then maybe MW Lilith R3 is a set for you. The Zoom65 V3 is the return of a popular budget 65% keyboard, but this time with some pretty big redesigns. Just a quick disclaimer, I have had a previous collaboration with Melotrix/Wucha Studios before for the Zoom 98, where they sent me a free unit for review. But after the review was completed, I have not had any offers or contact with their company. Anyways, back to the keyboard, the Zoom65 V3 still has a bunch of color options that you can choose from, tri-mode connectivity, and multiple options for the top right corner, but there are also quite a few changes that really change up the board. The case design is now updated with a taillight accent on the back of the board, which is kind of interesting to see as there have been a lot of car-related keyboards that have gone up for a group buy or are currently in IC lately. If this isn't your cup of tea, the original case design without the taillight will still be offered, but if you want a bit more flair or design on the back, this will be an option that will be available. It's also been updated to have a screwless assembly with what they're calling the catchball screwless assembly structure, a magnetic connection system for the PCB, and magnets for the weight. The Zoom65 V3 will feature 7 different mounting styles, so you can choose the typing field that you prefer. Some of these are quite standard, such as top mount, but there will also be a few interesting ones like magnetic levitation mount and spring mount, which I'm really curious about. Last but not least, Melotrix will be offering a Hall Effect module with this keyboard, so if that's something that you really want to try out, you can check it out here. The Zoom65 V3 will also have several limited edition backplates and collaborations available if you want something more unique. If you want to learn more about these details for these collaborations, I would recommend joining the Melotrix Discord. Overall, I think that it's pretty cool to see all these updates to the Zoom65. It's always been a good keyboard in terms of budget, but it wasn't the most exciting board in terms of design. With these new changes, it makes the board easier to build and definitely more customizable and also more exciting to look at. With a starting price of $179, I think that it's a board you should definitely consider if you're on the hunt for a 65% keyboard.